Welcome back, everyone. Last week we talked about the AFC Super Bowl contenders. This week it is all about the NFC Super Bowl contenders. And now, it hasn't changed from last year to this year.
It really hasn't.
Yeah, spoiler alert. With the greatest player of all time, Tom Brady, coming out of retirement, it seems as though Tampa Bay's chances of reaching the Super Bowl have significantly increased.
With good reason.
There's no reason that Blaine Gabbert, of all quarterbacks, was going to be taking that team to the Super Bowl. Now with Tom Brady coming back, their chances have skyrocketed. They are in contention with the LA Rams, especially since the LA Rams have now acquired Bobby Wagner.
No, it's pretty much a matter of all the teams re-signing some of their players. The Rams getting significantly better at one of their defensive positions, which we already had an episode on at the middle linebacker position. So it's just got to be interesting. Like, the thing is, like, what's holding me back from saying Rams automatically, Jose, you've seen this every year. The Super Bowl champions become favorites, but something happens, whether it's a lull or injuries. So this is going to be very exciting to see what happens this year, and I'm getting more excited to start the episode.
Yeah, it definitely is. So we're going to be starting off with last year's divisional playoff game. We're going to be analyzing that, picking that apart, seeing what exactly happened between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the LA Rams. Going into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' moves as of right now and their future, and then the last segment, we're going to be ending with the LA Rams' trajectory.
Yep.
So with all that being said, I'm Jose.
I'm Ricardo.
And welcome back to RJ Talks, everyone. All right, the Rams and the Buccaneers last year during the divisional playoff game. There's a lot to talk about here, Ricardo. There's a lot to unpack.
Plenty, yeah.
It was such a close game, and it was a bit of a shame that Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fell after that comeback in the second half. It was classic Tom Brady in the sense that he developed a game plan of his own. They got very lucky a few times with fumbles that were recovered.
Yeah,
for the offense. And they were able to score up until a certain point. Now, the very last drive, it came down to the wire with a couple of receptions by Cooper Kupp, thrown, of course, by Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
That spike at the end of the game, and Matt Gay just pulled it off with that game-winning field goal. So it came down to the wire for both teams, but it seems as though the LA Rams were able to pull it off. Now, the situation's a little more complicated, as you know, Ricardo. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a lot of their starting defenders last year were injured at different points throughout the season. So there was never a core of starting defenders on the field at one point in time. It probably was week 1, week 2, but shortly after that, that's when the tragedy started to hit in the form of injuries. So. And Tampa Bay's defense was struggling throughout most of the year, and by the time they got to that divisional playoff game, that's when that starting defense was all on the field at the same time in weeks, really.
Yeah.
So going into that playoff game, there were definitely plenty of tensions that were rising due to the referees seemingly micromanaging the game.
On both sides. Both teams got some calls where you're like, what?
Yeah, where we were questioning it the entire time. The game wasn't just allowed to happen.
Yeah.
And the completely flagrant fouls were not the only fouls that were being picked up on, as far as the referees go. And secondly, the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, not even their offense, but mostly their defense, just seems so out of sync, because they haven't been playing the entire season. So, being a defensive mind, Ricardo, what would you have to say to elaborate on that?
Well, to elaborate a little more on that, I would say Todd Bowles needs to do some adjusting against the LA Rams, because they seem to have his number when they played against them. Tampa Bay has been 0-3 against the LA Rams, and they always seem to be coming from behind with the LA Rams scoring first, specifically going with Cooper Kupp. So we've seen Todd Bowles do this before, Jose, before the Super Bowl. So against the Chiefs, that November game, when Tyreek Hill went off all over on them, got 200 yards in the first quarter. That Super Bowl, Todd Bowles was saying, anybody else is going to beat me except you. I will not let you go free the entire game. I'm going to press you, double you, harass you. You are going to be my main focus of the game. I'll blitz the quarterback, but I'll make sure there's at least 2 with you at all times.
And you referring to Cooper Kupp.
And yeah,
correct.
I bring this up with Tyreek Hill because I got a feeling if Todd Bowles has another chance, specifically as a head coach as well, because he's going to have a reputation, and the eyes are going to be on him. It'd be him being the head coach.
With Bruce Arians stepping down, definitely. Rewinding back to Super Bowl 55, just a quick comment. Todd Bowles was the defensive mind that kept Kansas City from scoring a single touchdown in that entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Todd Bowles, with that pressure on him, he's going to have to make an adjustment. He's going to have to make some sort of adjustment. Now, if it leads to other players getting catches and driving down the field and scoring, so be it. You can't defend everything, Jose.
Right.
Not everything can be covered. So I think Tampa Bay fans will be more than happy to know that they were beat by, whether it be Allen Robinson that the Rams just picked up, whether it be some of their tight ends, another receiver, anybody but Cooper Kupp. Be like, you know what? Shake your hand. They did what they had to do. Like we just didn't let them do what they want to do.
They were versatile in their play call.
Yeah. And I'm bringing this up because you bring up specifically that last drive that the LA Rams did. It was Stafford to Kupp, and it ended with Kupp just getting open, like being able to find weaknesses in Todd Bowles' defense. Granted, like zone would be the best option. They might just have to be caught in a situation, Jose, that you can run zone like throughout your defense, but you might just have to play a man straight up on Kupp. Not necessarily your best corner, but one of your more athletic guys to press him. And then having a guy over the top in safety, and that might be your best chance at stopping him because of how good of a route runner Kupp is. That's why I'm going for the defensive side. Is the key is Cooper Kupp. You contain Cooper Kupp, you force them to go other options, and you force them to run the ball. And Tampa Bay's biggest strength is stopping the run.
Yes.
So if you contain Kupp and you're already good at stopping the run, you have a good chance of slowing that Rams offense.
Yeah, definitely. Their secondary, that doesn't mean that their secondary is subpar, so to speak, but that front 4 is just absolutely destructive.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that the LA Rams came out of the woodwork during that playoff game and they were able to stop the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from scoring for so long was pretty impressive to see as well. It seems as though they emulated that same defensive strategy that, say, Todd Bowles did in the Kansas City Super Bowl 55 game, or at least there were semblances of that. All right, so you had the front 4 rushing and pressuring the quarterback as often as they possibly could, and you had the secondary playing zone most of the time. So with that zone coverage, all that they had to do was press on those receivers, which is what the New Orleans Saints did, right? And I mentioned this time and time again. This is just something that I really enjoy seeing, is that front 4 pressuring the quarterback, in this case Tom Brady.
Not to cut you off, but you said the Bucs. I think you meant the Rams.
Oh, the Rams.
Yeah,
the Rams, right. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Exactly.
That's what I meant. So, thank you.
Go ahead, yeah.
Thank you, though. The Rams defense putting a whole lot of pressure on Tom Brady, as well as their secondary playing zone coverage, right? Their backs and their secondary playing zone coverage, because all they have to do is just throw off the flow of that offense at Tampa Bay. Because that's what Tampa Bay's offense relies on. They rely on the rhythm almost entirely, right? Tom Brady loves it. Tom Brady loves throwing to people on time and on point.
You could argue it's prolonged his career as how great he is at rhythm.
Exactly.
And that's so old now.
Yeah, he loves reading where his receivers are and where his receivers are supposed to be, and it's not a stretch to say that he has taken this mindset from New England over to Tampa Bay.
Oh, easily.
Yeah,
easily,
definitely.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, the Rams, all they had to do was press on those receivers and throw off the timing, and that seems to be what they did. And all they had to do was play zone. They didn't have to play man on any of those guys. They basically simplified the work for themselves. So, with all that being said, we have the statistics over here for that entire game. The total yards for the Rams was 428. The total yards for Tampa Bay was 359. Of course, the LA Rams had more possession time than what Tampa Bay did, but not by a large margin. So you had 3408 for the LA Rams, and then you had 2552 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it was pretty even for the most part. LA had 4 turnovers, Tampa Bay had 2, and you had 24 first downs for LA as opposed to 20 for Tampa Bay. Tom Brady had completed 30 of 54 of his passes for 329 yards. However, he only threw one touchdown that entire game, and he had one interception thrown for that as well. Matt Stafford completed 28 of 30 of his passes, 366 yards and 2 TDs. So Leonard Fournette, as far as scoring goes, was pretty much the highlight of that game.
Yeah.
For Tampa Bay side, he carried the ball fairly well. 13 carries for 51 yards and then 2 TDs. So he basically contributed to the tying touchdown as well as the first or second touchdown, if I remember correctly.
It was the first touchdown.
It was the first touchdown.
Because they kicked 2 field goals and then they scored that first touchdown.
That's right. Yeah. So Leonard Fournette was definitely the star of that team. It seemed like the front four was more focused on pressuring Tom Brady as opposed to stopping the run, because they know that that's the head of the snake. Right. Mm-hmm. As soon as Tom Brady's on the field, they have to do everything they possibly can to throw his flow off. Right.
And that's the thing with the Buccaneers as far as going against the Rams defense. They're gonna have to be more consistent with what we talk about, Jose, balance with running the ball. And that game they weren't balanced at all. It was Tom Brady or bust and running some stuff and some keenly runs with Fournette. But I get that we're down 20-3. Then maybe they could have prolonged the drive had they run a little bit more, just a little bit more, because I get when you're down 20-3, you throw it out the window. You're gonna have to throw it to get back into the game.
Exactly, yeah, throw it out the window, so to speak. You're doing your very best to drive the ball down the field as fast as you possibly can. Yeah. So at the end of the half, the score was 20-3, right? And then going into the second half, Tampa Bay just seemed a little more desperate, reasonably so, because they just had to score points. They had to get down there, all right? And the Rams knew that. So as soon as they started playing zone, that's what their strategy was. It's like, we don't have to man cover any of these guys. If we man cover any of those people, then they have a better chance of getting past us. They have a better chance of burning us, especially with Jalen Ramsey. All of a sudden just kept getting burned in the playoffs.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere, too. It was a funny thing. It was just like, is this Jalen Ramsey? What is going on? It happened week after week, too. It happened in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, sensational player throughout the entire regular season. The funny thing is that he wasn't even getting he was getting burned by was it Jamar Chase? Was he covering Jamar Chase? No.
He covered Jamar Chase, and then it was T. Higgins who burned him as well.
So it's like, okay, we understand Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins? Really? Wow. I thought that was crazy.
No, and going back to the second half, if I could interject here for the key for the game, the differences were a little less turnovers by the Bucs, more turnovers caused by the Rams, most turnovers that they created, and then the Bucs defense went back to their old school ways of getting pressure on the quarterback, and that helped out their secondary tremendously. Because you can't run the rock towards Tampa Bay. It's just not going to happen with Devin White, Lavonte David, and those monsters up front in the middle.
Right.
The only chance to beat them is by passing the balls. And to help out Tampa Bay, their secondary is average. It's not bad, but it's average. So they need help with getting pressure. So the more players you put pressure towards the quarterback, the more it harms your secondary, because there's a better chance of players getting open. So that's why it's key for Tampa Bay to get pressure with 4. Yeah. And that's what made the difference for how they looked last year to compare it to this year. Well, last year in the playoffs, let's be honest. It was the playoffs where they suddenly clicked.
Right.
That front 4 has got to get pressure. Shaq Barrett's got to play like the player he's getting paid money to do so. So that's what happened that second half against the Rams. They were becoming the team that most people saw them being. And that's how it became a close game. Rams got one more possession than the Bucs. Who knows? Maybe if it was the other way around, if it was a tie game and Tom Brady gets the ball with 40 seconds left, might be a different story.
The thing that also really defined the game was the fact that the LA Rams had fumbled the ball a couple of times. Yeah. And it was recovered on the other side. Yeah. So as soon as Tampa Bay started to pick those up, they had opportunities. And as soon as you give Tom Brady opportunities, what is he going to do with them? More often than not, he takes those opportunities and he capitalizes on them. So the fact that they were able to score and they were able to keep it so close, it looked like a Tom Brady game for a little while. Yeah, especially that second half, the latter half of that second half. So seeing the way that it all played out, it was just a shame to see somebody to see them fall. However, when you have someone like Cooper Kupp on the other side, with the Rams, the fact that he's so capable of anticipating where the defense is going to be, and you have an average secondary going up against him, that's tough, man. It is. It is. So as much as I want to bag on, or not even bag, but just criticize the Tampa Bay secondary, it's hard to do so because you have somebody like Cooper Kupp on the offensive side and Odell Beckham as well, right? Odell didn't have much of a presence throughout that game. You know, he made a single solid catch, which is pretty good, a sideline catch where he was pretty much on his heels and he kept both feet inward. However, Cooper Kupp was definitely the star of that game as far as receptions go.
A lot of people forget, dude. They see the final play with Winfield being out of position against Kupp, like, oh, he just got wide open. People don't get, like, Cooper Kupp had a free release.
Yeah.
Like, he had a free release heading towards Winfield, and, like, Winfield was trying to adjust. Like, he was a little off of his balance, but as soon as Kupp got that free release and went, like, full speed downfield, it was over.
He took advantage of it.
Yeah, it was over.
Yeah, he has killer. The thing about Cooper Kupp is, yes, his football IQ is very high, but he has killer instincts. Yeah, he has killer instincts, so he's able to anticipate where the defense is mid-play.
Yeah.
Mid-play. You've seen stuff. Yeah, you've seen instincts like this with Tom Brady. You know, where mid-play, I forgot which game it was, but you reminded me of it a few weeks ago, where we were talking about this particular play, and in the middle of the play, he told the running back in New England.
Oh, it was Patriots game. It was James White. He was going to go for a play action, and he told them, like, go out, and that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, in the middle of the play, he reads the defense and then he makes the change immediately, and James White is able to roll with the punches. Then that's exactly what Cooper Kupp does. That's why he is so damn effective as a receiver, is because his football IQ is high and he has killer instincts. You know, he's able to anticipate where the defense is headed in the middle of the play, so he's able to adjust accordingly. So I have to give Cooper Kupp credit for that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The Rams definitely won the game. They almost gave it away, but they won it at the end.
They did. Yeah. They did. Now, let me ask you this, Ricardo. With Todd Bowles being the head coach and Tom Brady essentially being the offensive coordinator, let's be honest, right? Yeah, he's going to be the one that's running that offense, and Todd Bowles being the defensive mind that he is, he's going to be that head coach. How effective do you think Tampa Bay is going to be?
Well, here's the thing, Jose. Most people don't get, like, a head coach, you coach the coaches, but you devise the scheme for almost everybody.
Right.
So yes, you have coordinators that develop their game plan and stuff, but it's based off the coach's strategy of what they want to do.
Right.
Now, a defensive-minded head coach, Jose, is not necessarily the most offensively brilliant guy, but he'll do more often than not the best thing to help out his defense. So what I'm hoping for, and what this might lead to more, is some more running the ball. Making Tampa Bay a little more unpredictable, running the ball, saving Tom Brady that effort of having to read into zone coverages that much where defenses just aren't biting. Getting it back to, like, an old way where Tom Brady play action, they actually bite instead of staying back, because, like, they're not going to run it. Like, they have Tom, they have Mike Evans, they have Chris Godwin, they have Cameron Braid, O.J. Howard. I don't mention Gronk because he might retire or leave, but you know what I'm saying. They have these weapons at receiver.
Yes.
Like, why would they run the ball? So with a defensive mind and presence at the control, not necessarily, like, override completely what Tom wants to do, but, like, hey, help us out. Help us out the defense, and let's get some more balance. Just run a couple times in this play. Like, change one play into a run play if you can, if you see it. You can spread out the formation, but if you see an opportunity to run the ball, do so. And I have a feeling that's going to help out Tampa Bay be a lot more balanced, Jose, to answer your question, is with Todd Bowles at the controls, because he's shown he knows what he's doing. I saw him when he was a coordinator with Arizona with the pathetic offenses on the other side, and the defense being the star of essentially of what's going on.
Yes.
So he knows what he's doing, and I'm glad he's getting the opportunity to be a head coach, and he's going to be on the line here, because if he fails with Tom Brady, not necessarily like not win the Super Bowl, but if they have a bad year, it might be over for Todd Bowles to be a head coach. It's like, you clearly can't lead this team, because if you got Tom Brady, what makes you think you can lead this other team?
What more could you ask for?
Exactly. Exactly. So it's just going to be interesting to see the relationship between the two of them. Will it be better than he had one with Arians, where they had two completely different philosophies, and at times, like, you could tell, like, there was tension.
Right.
So I don't know, dude. That gets me excited because you get more balance and you understand like he's got to help out the defense more.
That seems to be the theme for this next year for a lot of teams is that they just have to pass less. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the passing league, it's easy to do it. Yeah. Right, but this next year, in both conferences, it's looking like passing is just going to take a back seat for this next year. Hopefully, if other teams are going to be following this scheme. So it's really interesting because I wanted to bring this up just to further assert your point, right?
Yeah.
So you have Tom Brady last year threw for 5,316 yards. He led the league in passing yards, right? The most yards he's ever thrown in his NFL career. Mm-hmm. Is it not in a single season?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So with that said. Oh, and also 43 touchdowns. He led the league in touchdowns as well.
God,
43 touchdowns.
Keep going. I forgot that too. Go ahead.
Yeah, 43 touchdowns, and he ended second in QBR. He was 68.1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know who he was behind.
It's Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Okay, yeah. So that makes complete sense. So with that being said, the most yards that he has ever thrown, I don't believe it's the most touchdowns he's ever thrown in a single season throughout his career.
That was 07.
Right. Yeah. So, but the most passing yards. Mm-hmm. So to further assert your point, it's like I expect those passing yards to start taking a back seat.
Yes.
You know, when you have somebody like Tom Brady at the helm and you have the receiving core that he does, of course, exactly. Why would you pass it?
In order to win too, Jose, that's the thing. Like, he has to go back to what brought him to win. It wasn't being the most flashy guy. No. When he won those Super Bowls, it was a balanced effort. Even with Tampa Bay the year they won the Super Bowl, they ran the ball down the Kansas City's throats.
Right.
They ran the ball down, like they threw it obviously like intermediately, but it wasn't just pass. No, you got to run the ball, and that's why they re-signed their old lineman. That's why Tom Brady, we'll find out what the truth was about that retirement, quote unquote, but for now, he unretired so he could keep those offensive linemen, those integral pieces of that offense to get him to come back.
Right.
Got Leonard Fournette back because Leonard Fournette is not mainly a passing running back. He's a run-first running back, and hopefully that leads to a team that wants to be more balanced.
Yes.
I keep repeating myself, but that's literally what it is, Jose.
Especially with Leonard Fournette starting to get up there in age.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we'll be completely honest.
Yeah.
Right. He's been in the league for quite some time, so he doesn't have a whole lot of time left, especially as. Excuse me.
The type of runner that he is.
Exactly, with the type of runner that he is and the position that he's in, right? Yeah. Running back itself is a very, very physically demanding position. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he is in that position, it's only going to be a matter of time before he has to leave the league, and that's just the reality of it, right? So they might as well just make use of him as as long as they have him.
Yeah.
They should make use of it.
Yes. And they signed another.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, no, and they drafted another running back as well with Rashad. I do believe they signed another running back to fill up their stable core. His name Rashad White. I do believe he just came out of the draft this year. But the point is that they understand that the way they went about it last year was not the way to go. Yes, you have all these amazing weapons on offense to pass the ball. That doesn't mean that should be your only plan of attack. And the Rams baited it. You got to admire, dude, for them not changing their strategy. They baited them hey, go ahead, throw the ball. We'll be winning. We're not going to blitz. We're not going to try to stop the run. Come on, throw the ball. Throw the ball. And that led them to win the game because I watched that game from start to finish, Jose. I watched it live. And there was never a moment where I was like, okay, let's see the big play, for the touchdown pass where they beat the defense. It was never that. The only play that happened was Jalen Ramsey burnt coverage against Mike Evans, but that was towards the end. The whole game, they were rocks solid.
Yeah, it was only that one breach in the defense. So, with all that being said, this is where the Rams and the Buccaneers are as of last year.
Yes.
Right? So now we're going to be moving into the next segment where we talk about the future of Tampa Bay specifically. Mm-hmm. Right? What exactly have they been doing since the end of last year? Who have they picked up?
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to be talking about Tom Brady coming out of retirement and their chances that have increased since then.
Yeah.
All right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What exactly is in store for them for this next year? Ricardo.
Yes, sir. We'll be honest. It changed dramatically when Tom Brady decided to change his mind after a 3-week hiatus from football.
40 plus days.
Yeah.
40 plus days. Yeah.
So like everyone thought okay, so it was an end of an era. Good luck to Tampa Bay. Like you'll back with where everybody else is. Like have fun. But
Blaine Gabbert taking the helm after Tom Brady.
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't. It's gonna be. This is gonna be. I have a feeling, Jose. This has to be his last season. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how Tampa Bay goes on. Kind of Michael Jordan-esque last dance. We'll see how it ends.
Yeah.
If it can be compared to that. If not, obviously, like it won't happen. But as far as for Tampa Bay, this is the reason why they're the contenders. There's no other reason. It's because Tom's coming back, and they have another shot with specifically good players coming back and signing and being like, hey, we were hurt last year, and it took that much for you to dethrone us. It took those spectacular plays at the end of the game by the Rams and a field goal at the last second to kick us out.
Yeah.
And like, we're ready. We're hungry. And you better believe that they're going to make some adjustments to try to beat this Rams team for once, because they haven't beat him ever since Tom has been, and you know that's bugging him. You know that's going to be bugging him, being like, I haven't beaten this team as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
That might be that might be what he means by unfinished business.
Yes.
Because who else? Who but the Bucs and the Rams are the contenders in the NFC?
You can't say the Packers because they got Devontae Adams is gone, and it's clear that Rodgers was only priority as him. And I don't see the Packers. We've seen enough evidence of them. They time after time after time, they're not who they are in the postseason compared to the regular season.
Right.
Move on. Niners, we'll have to see how Trey Lance does. If Trey Lance is spectacular, you got another contender going.
They might be the team that just comes out of nowhere, because you know that there's every single magical team that just comes out of nowhere where they just start winning after winning after winning.
Niners are the most complete team, but we'll see what they are at quarterback.
Yes.
Their players believe like he's special. Okay, we'll see. We'll see how he does when it's actually time to play.
Yeah. The Seattle Seahawks lost Russell Wilson. They lost. I mean, they're a dumpster fire.
Stop. That's enough coverage that we're going to give them on this.
Yeah, they're a dumpster fire.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Who else is left? Is there the NFC East? Please. Let's move on.
No, but the NFC least is more like it. Yeah.
Nope.
People keep saying that, yes, the Dallas Cowboys are looking better, but they are not Super Bowl contention.
Who do you have? And who do you have coming from the NFC North? The Vikings and the Packers? Stop.
That's it.
Yeah. And people are going to hate me for saying this on Aaron Rodgers, but it's the truth, damn it. Like, we've seen what happens. We've seen what happens when he faces a team with similar talent and he's forced to, like, try to win the game.
Yeah.
NFC West, you got the Rams and the Niners. And then you got Tampa Bay. And I invite anyone to find me another team that is a contender starting from right now. And Tampa Bay re-signing their key players, Jose, has made all the difference. Keeping that offensive lineman. It's gonna hurt that Ali Marpet, the guard, retired.
Yeah.
One of the better guards. But he's kept Ryan Jensen. He still has Tristan Wirfs. He still has I forget his name. Donovan Smith at left tackle, and then another left guard specifically for them. But it's exciting to watch because Aaron Stinney. I see the name right here. I can't believe I forgot it. But they're rebuilding and regrouping, and with Todd Bowles at the helm, you better believe that he's going to be like, okay, let's see what we can do without all of those injuries on us, because they never got going. Like you said in the previous segment, Jose, they never got going all year. So that defense is going to be hungry and thirsty to prove, hey, we weren't just a fluke. We didn't just play straight out of our minds for one game. Like, we are a real, legit contending defense.
Yep.
So with the front four, it's going to hurt that if Sue leaves, but they still have Vita Vea there.
Yes.
You still got Pierre-Paul at defensive end, and then you got Shaq Barrett at defensive end. You got the rookie number 8, Tryon. I forgot the guy's name. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The rookie that they had last year. He's gonna have more chance for playing time, and it's gonna be interesting to see what he does. Then at the linebacker core, you still got Levante David, and you got Devin White. So we're gonna see how this team specifically plays. You got Anton Winfield Jr. still being a beast. And then you have Murphy Button as a safety. And then you have Jamel Dean. So there's potential, Jose. There's potential for them to make a big run. And then at the offense, you got Tom Terrific leading the way. hopefully he understands that he needs more balance and less of him to win, which he's done his whole career. Let's be honest.
He's dropped his ego. He's capable of doing so.
Yeah.
He may get fired up every now and then, but he knows when it's time to drop it. Definitely. So this next year, I think with Todd Bowles at the helm, especially with all these rumors that were circulating with Tom Brady and Bruce Arians being in conflict and just butting heads as often as they did, it'll help that Tom Brady is now being led by Todd Bowles, somebody who seems to share a similar direction, a similar vision to what Tom's
more
vision
discipline
is.
than
Exactly.
Marion is. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Now Bruce Arians is always fired up. I mean, he's a very passionate guy. Todd Bowles seems to be a little more cool and collected.
Yep.
Right. So the fact that fact alone, as long as that's true, he'll be able to hear Tom Brady out and actually incorporate a lot of his ideas into the development of the team.
And the thing that people underestimate is Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady are in sync. The fact that he's still here for next season, it's going to make it even better for them.
Yeah.
Because him and Byron Leftwich, they're on the same page as far as what they need to do to get done. You just need Todd Bowles to calm him down, be like, okay, I get like these flashy stuff, but we want to win the game.
Right.
Beat them winning the game, whether that's running the ball 25 times this game or throwing screen passes for the most of the game to try to drive and score, and help out the defense on the back end by keeping them off the field. So I could see them, Jose, being a little more run first to try to dominate some clock and the time off the clock to see how they do, as opposed to just scoring, because they let it fly with Tom, obviously, last year. They did. He let it go, and they just left with a disappointing playoff and a bad taste in their mouth that they were less close to winning the game. So they're gonna adjust, and I'm excited, Jose, because you know I mentioned to you earlier. I want it to be an NFC title rematch. That's what I want to see.
Oh man, that's going to be amazing.
NFC title rematch between those two teams.
So we expect Leonard Fournette's stats to go up, and we expect Tom Brady's, as far as passing yards go, his stats to come down just a little bit and take a back seat.
And I expect running back by committee as well to help out Leonard Fournette, not make him the single running back, like have Ronald Jones and a couple of other running back by committee and get yards.
Exactly, and I remember we were talking about this a couple of months ago when Tampa Bay re-signed Rojo, right? So as soon as they did that, we go, okay, I passed that on to you, and I said, okay, they're still keeping this guy. And I remember you were saying that he's hot and cold, right? Rojo's hot and cold. Leonard Fournette is definitely still the star running back of that team, but with him getting up in age, it could be another scenario for the Buffalo Bills. Right? How last week we were talking about Devin Singletary, right? And how he has a solid backup in the newbie that they picked up. I can't remember his name for right now, but the fact that they can trade each other off because one is better at one aspect of the run game than the other. So the fact that Leonard Fournette is the star, and then Rojo can start picking up the slack that Leonard Fournette could possibly be putting back is helpful, right?
I'm excited. I just realized Rashad White, former ASU player, he was a pretty good running back for them. So
was he?
He's shifty. He's very shifty. But anyway, keep going.
And Leonard Fournette is just
big.
It is big
in your face.
Balls to the walls running.
I'm gonna run you over and get 5 more yards.
Exactly. Yeah. So he could be a solid like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5 running back. Yeah. So when we say something like that to the people that don't know at home, like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, it's like this is your second to last opportunity to get the ball over what is called the line of scrimmage, right? Yeah. So the line of scrimmage is where the play starts, right? So you have 3 chances. You have 3 chances. We say 3 because that 4th down, depending on where you are, is usually punted. Right, unless the
coach is aggressive and decides to go for it.
Yeah, unless the coach is aggressive and they decide to go for it, or it just makes more sense to go for it, like on a 4th and inches situation or a 4th and 1 situation, you might as well just take that chance, depending on where you are in the game as far as time goes. Yeah. Right. So you have when you have somebody like Leonard Fournette taking a situation like where they're 3 yards away from the 1st down on 3rd down, then you put him in and you say, you know what, just take it home for us, give us the 1st down.
And then for when it's long, more than 3rd and 2, when it's 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4, and you want to try to sneakily run the ball, that's where you want a shifty guy you want a shifty guy, like it could either be Rojo or it could be, let's see how Rashad White plays, but like we'll see. But
watch him in the preseason.
Yeah, let's say for the sake of argument, he can like be a little shifty in the NFL. That's where you get the quicker guys to try to sneak it past the defense, because most of the times they'll be expecting to pass. So third down running backs, that's another term that people use, is that running backs that are meant to catch a little more than they are to run and be quick, as opposed to big. So running back by committee, you got your Leonard Fournette, the big, strong bull running over people, and then you got your shifty guys, whether it could be Rashad White. I forget the other running back that they had at the time, but they had at one point they had Shady McCoy as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how they do, but key for them to be is running the ball. People might call us antiquated and like old school, but it wins games. It wins games, and it can win a championship.
Yeah, in this case, and it keeps, and on top of that too, it keeps your defense on the bench for a little while longer.
Yep.
Gives them some more rest time, right? So the longer that the offense is in play, the longer the defense is on the bench and actually getting some rest, and vice versa, right? The goal is the most ideal situation is to give both sides an even balance of time. Right, so that way one side gets enough rest time and the other side gets enough play time, so on and so forth. Right, so when you have, so in this case on the offensive side specifically, it's better to have a tool belt than a Swiss Army knife.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like Leonard Fournette can't do it all. Rashad White is probably not going to be able to do it all since he is a rookie. Right, he's still figuring out his place in the NFL. And Rojo is definitely not able to do it all either.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's better to have an arsenal of guys as opposed to one guy, a Swiss Army knife, as I like to put it. Right. Unless you're Tom Brady, then you can actually do it all. But anyway, except run. Except run. He can't run. Yeah. Except run. So yeah. So even then, the greatest of all time can't do it all.
Yeah.
Right. So as far as the offensive side goes, it's going to be interesting to see what Tampa Bay does this next year. Their defense is pretty solid for the most part, especially since they're keeping their core guys. With the exception of, who was it?
Dominican Sue. He's going to leave. He's either going to retire or he's going to leave Tampa Bay.
Dominican Sue. Yeah, and he's destructive too. He had gotten his start in Miami, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He started with Detroit. He got drafted with Detroit, got the money, went to Miami, and then he decided to go to Tampa Bay.
That's right.
And then Tom Brady joined the team.
That is before my time. Yeah, that is before my time, before I started watching football.
No, you're good.
I knew he was with Miami for the longest time, or for a while, right? But I didn't know that he started with Detroit.
No, but when he was with Detroit, he was the lower version of Aaron Donald. Like he was a beast. He was all pro.
Oh, he's big too.
It was between him and J.J. Watt as far as who's the better D tackle. And then obviously J.J. Watt took off, and Sue was not consistent enough, but he had the talent.
Yeah,
he has the talent.
Definitely. Well, I think it's about time that we move on to the LA Rams and see what they look like. Yeah. What do you think?
No, absolutely.
All right, perfect. And in our next segment, that is all it's going to be, is the LA Rams. We will see you in that one. All right, the returning Super Bowl champions in the Los Angeles Rams, who played the Cincinnati Bengals last year and just kept it a pretty even matchup, I would say. Yeah, especially with Jalen Ramsey being burnt all throughout Super Bowl 56. That was very interesting to see.
Yeah,
I will say that. But with all that being aside, it might have just been a fluke in the playoff series. Let's just hope that he doesn't do that this next year. But the fact that let's start with the obvious hole, right? The LA Rams let go of Von Miller, right? And they didn't exactly replace him with Bobby Wagner, but they definitely did fill a hole that was needed.
Yes.
Right at the middle linebacker position when Von Miller is pretty much an edge rusher. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So they traded him to the Buffalo Bills, and they picked up Bobby Wagner, who was released by the Seattle Seahawks, who we we believe for the longest time, as well as the rest of the league, that he was going to be a franchise player for Seattle. On top of that, we also
he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah.
Yeah, one would think, right? One would think.
Keep him.
Yeah. Another side note, especially with them letting go of Russell Wilson for a slew of draft picks and Drew Lock.
You know, I'm a Cardinals fan, but even I feel just a little bit bad about what they're doing to their own franchise. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, okay.
I can't believe this.
You really are just giving up for the next 5 years. Like, okay.
Yeah, they're Oprah. They're giving away their best assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but oh my goodness.
If they get rid of Metcalf, okay. They want to play for the draft. Okay.
And you get a Hall of Famer, and you get a Hall of Famer.
And you get a great player.
Yeah. But the fact that they picked up Bobby Wagner is going to be a huge upgrade to their defense. I mean, the fact that they have Aaron Donald in the front four, they have the supervisor of the defense, as you've called it beforehand, Ricardo, in Bobby Wagner, and that secondary with Jalen Ramsey, they're stacked, man. I mean, it's going to look really good for them on the defensive side. The offensive side. Right. Yeah. Or did you have a note for that?
No, I have a note for the defensive
Go right ahead.
side.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting to see Bobby Wagner go into that system, but I don't know, dude. And this is the Sean McVay too, but I kind of got a little Phil tummy feelings from them winning
some
the Super Bowl.
Butterflies in your stomach,
from them winning the Super Bowl. You saw Aaron Donald, I'm okay. Like I don't need football. Like I got enough money. I'm happy. Like I could retire. Yeah. And then Sean McVay, I could retire too. Like this is great. Like I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. That is important. People think, they're just excited. It's very difficult to repeat. There's a reason the only team to repeat in the last 20 years has been those 03-04 Patriots. Is because it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of stuff to go your way. And that's a lot
of luck.
Yes.
Plenty of luck.
And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want you. I saw you mention like talking the Rams earlier today, Jose, and I was like, they're contenders, but like Super Bowl champions, like something happens. Something always happens. Something goes wrong, whether it be injuries, whether it be the hangover, whether like they're not who they once were, or they just they lose guys. They lose guys and then lose the knees in the position and see how it goes. That defensive side, Von Miller made a huge change because that Super Bowl, Jose, remember what we talked about? Von Miller and Aaron Donald wreaking havoc on that Bengals offensive line. They triple teamed Donald, but you had Von Miller burning them one-on-one on the other side.
Yep.
Leonard Floyd was good, granted, but Von Miller, like being the experienced veteran that he was able to make timely sacks, timely plays to stop the Rams offense. And in the Tampa Bay offense too, he stripped Brady like twice.
Yeah.
In that game, like he performed necessary in the playoffs, which is why we're excited about the Buffalo Bills. But that defense, I don't know, dude. I don't want to jinx anyone, but like we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, and it's just I have a feeling something's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna be Bobby Wagner, but it might be the secondary. Something's bound to happen with the Super Bowl team. And I'm excited with Bobby because it looks like their team's going to be unstoppable on paper. How many of us thought that the Tampa Bay were going to repeat? Because on paper, they got everyone back. They got someone there. Like it's going to be Tampa Bay repeating. Kansas City. They got Tyreek. They got Kelsey. They got Blair. They got it. They still have Honey Badger. They're going to repeat.
Yeah.
It happens. The Patriots in 2018, like we're gonna repeat, lose in the first round of the playoffs. So that's the only thing that's holding me back excited about this defense is just like Super Bowl champions. There's something. There's a very true saying to this, Jose. Heavy is the head that lies the crown. Going into the season, not winning, not when you're not during the season when you win it, but during the season.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. It's almost as if they need to do double or even triple the work.
Yeah.
That they did last year.
And you felt that with Tampa Bay too when you saw them playing. Like you felt like the pressure, like they're struggling so hard just to be in sync, just to feel loose, just to feel great. So
yeah.
But
so the fact that they're coming back this next year, they look like the Super Bowl favorites, especially with Tom Brady coming back. However, the Rams coming out of this last year, yes, they're losing people, but they're also gaining. It seems like they're gaining as much as they're losing more.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why on paper it looks fantastic. Of course, we can't predict what exactly is going to happen. We only have ideas of what's going to happen for this next year. But just judging off of what they've been doing up until this point, they are acquiring defensive people. Not just defensive people, but defensive secondaries.
Yep.
Right? So in April, they acquired a cornerback named Troy Hill from Cleveland in exchange for a 2023 fifth-round draft pick. They give out draft picks like it's candy.
They don't care, dude.
Yeah,
they don't care.
And then before the episode started, you were asking me how the Rams have so much money. I was like, I'll tell you, they're giving away all these damn draft picks. They don't have to spend any of this money on draft picks, signing draft picks for the next 4 years.
Yeah, no.
So of course, their salary cap is just steadily increasing. So when you see a lot of these guys that they're picking up in the secondary, no doubt, like this linebacker, signed linebacker Travin Howard, I hope I'm saying that right, I don't think I am, to a tender contract, signing linebacker Anthony Hines to a futures deal. This was all back in March. And then he also had April, that cornerback Troy Hill. And then that inside linebacker Travin Howard to a 1-year contract. And they waived defensive back Kareem Orr. Right? Another one here, they waived one linebacker, Travin Howard, with an injury designation. Yeah. So they're doing it. They're picking these linebackers up, and they're picking up this cornerback because they know that that's where their weakness is. That's what I would think, at least.
And one of their key losses too, people don't want to make this, but Joseph Day, their nose tackle on the inside, he signed with, guess who? The Chargers.
Yeah.
We'll get to another second, but I just love the Chargers. But
the Chargers defense specifically,
yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they lost him, and he was a great interior presence in the run game specifically to help out Aaron Donald. Don't get me wrong, Aaron Donald is godly. He's a beast, but he's still gonna need players with consistency to help him out.
Yeah.
Which is at the position with Leonard Floyd. Like he's good, he's solid, but we'll see how those other guys who step up and have the opportunity. Von Miller was on the other side. Who's going to step up on that other side for the team? Yeah. So it's just defense is going to be very, very interesting as far as how some players adjust to their new roles. I got no issues. Bobby Wagner is going to kill it. No problem. He's not going to be the problem. It's going to be some other those guys, those Jags, those just the guy players that are on the team, but they make a difference on how they play. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. These supporting actors, if you will.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a point that we made from the very beginning of the podcast, from episode 1. This is such a team sport, all right? Every single piece has to come into play every single play, right? Everything has to work, right? So everybody is a gear, everybody is a cog in the machine, right? And if that machine is well-oiled, everybody's doing their job 100% of the time.
And going back to with Super Bowl champions, Jose, I can't believe I almost forgot to say this, but they're going to have the biggest target on their back all season because you know this, dude. Teams like 2-5 or 3-4, they get up to play the Super Bowl champions because to them that's their Super Bowl. It's like we beat the Super Bowl champions. Like they're gonna get everybody's 110%, and they're gonna get, with good teams at least, their best coordinated attack plan to be like, okay, this is what their defense did great. Let's shred it up. Let's do our best to blow it up. It's like
this is how they won it last year, and this is how we're going to attack them.
Adjustments.
Yeah,
and that's what the offseason is for, Jose. When it comes to players having a great season, defensive coordinators adjust, offensive coordinators adjust, so how they attack the Rams as well. It works both ways.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to see not just how the LA Rams react, but how everybody else reacts to them as well when they take the field with them. So. Moving on to the offensive side.
Yes, sir.
Right. So obviously you have Matt Stafford coming back, getting paid quite a bit of money, but not as much money as Cooper Kupp. Obviously, yeah.
Well deserved.
Yes, absolutely. The fact that he took the Triple Crown last year in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and what was the third subcategory? Receptions. There we go. Yeah, that's right. So the fact that he took the Triple Crown last year and he was able to get as open as he did last year, obviously defenses are going to be responding to that.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to see his stats not necessarily take a nosedive, but just start to dwindle down a little bit, right? And that's if he himself does not respond.
And that's the thing is that people forget, like, when they have bad stats, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're playing bad. It just means that sometimes they got your number with what you're trying to do. And you gotta adjust, and it might take some time next year, because the way that offensive Ram teams work, whoever's on defense, I don't care if you're the New York Jets or the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Houston Texans. If I'm a coordinator on any team, I'll be like, I don't care about everybody else. I am not going to let that guy beat me deep. I am not going to let that guy beat me with a shifty route running. I am going to have 2 guys on him at all times, no matter what. Maybe even 3, depending on how they zone the defense, like an outside linebacker being in position to help the corner press him, and over the top you have it. So it'll open a lot of options up for some other players. But I'm telling you, dude, everyone's going to put their eye on Kupp. And it'll open stuff out for the Rams offense, be like, hey, if you beat us, so be it. But we're not going to let you beat us the way you won the Super Bowl. And
the more pressure that they put on Cooper Kupp, the more pressure that they're ostensibly going to be putting on Matt Stafford.
Yep.
Right? Who led the league in interceptions last year? Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Right? So as soon as you start putting pressure, and he had Cooper Kupp at the helm, right?
Yeah.
He was still able, at the end of the year, to capitalize on Cooper Kupp's success, right? It's success in just getting open, right? So since you actually have Matt Stafford being the way that he is when he reacts under pressure, he's going to be challenged quite a bit as well. As soon as they start to cover Cooper Kupp effectively.
And dude, speaking of pressure, Andrew Whitworth is retired.
Yep.
Future Hall of Famer.
Exactly.
Left tackle. Left tackle.
Yep. Yeah. That future Hall of Famer, Andrew Whitworth. So that leaves a hole, right? And it's up to the LA Rams to fill that hole.
They did re-sign Joseph Noteboom, one of their backups out there. He plays good, but it's different, man. When you're on that island and you get the best pass rusher going against you, we'll see how he responds. Whitworth stood his ground even before Stafford came to the Rams. When he had Jared Goff at the helm, you hardly saw Goff get attacked by his blind side. You hardly saw that happen. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. Now, with Odell Beckham Jr. being released and Gordon and whatnot, them giving away Robert Woods and getting Allen Robinson from the Chicago Bears.
Yes,
that's going to be an added piece. That's going to be very, very interesting to see how Sean McVay uses him. Dude.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that is huge. Well, let's see what exactly the Rams are going to be going up against this next season.
Yeah, no, pull up the schedule.
Yeah. So I just decided to pull up the schedule here, and we'll go down game by game and see how difficult it will be for the Rams to come back up.
No, absolutely.
Right, and we'll give our own gauge.
Yeah.
Right. Week 1 is against Buffalo. Week 1's going to be against Buffalo.
Possible Super Bowl champs in their own right. We'll see how they play this season, but that's going to be a hell of a game.
That definitely
NFL
will be.
knows what it's doing with that game. They're predicting maybe this could be a matchup later down the road.
This will be it.
Yeah.
Now, if I remember correctly, the Buffalo Bills have not made very many changes to their team last year. Why would they? Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're literally bringing the template from last year into this next year, oh man, that's going to be a challenge for LA.
And they didn't lose. Pretty much what you're saying, they didn't lose key players.
Exactly.
They added
that's what I mean.
They added key players, and their secondary, while getting burnt by Tyreek on that last play in Mahomes, they're up there. They're top 5. They're good for a reason. Those safeties and Tre'Davious White at the corner position, they can cover guys pretty quick, and it takes a lot to beat them. And it's gonna be that. This is how it's gonna be interesting, because if I'm the Bills, I don't put Tre'Davious White on Cooper Kupp. Why would you? It's too obvious. It's going to be best on best right there, and it's going to force your best players to go up against good. What you do, you put your Tre'Davious White on Allen Robinson one-on-one. Force him to beat you one-on-one, while you get your second best corner, maybe your third, to press Kupp all game, and get one of your safeties, whether it's Jordan Poyer, and I forget the other guy's name, but you know what I'm saying, Jose.
Yeah.
You force them to find somebody else other than
two's
Cooper
better
Kupp.
than one.
Yep.
Two's better than one. As soon as you start having somebody press at the line, and then you have a safety that's watching Cooper Kupp the entire time, throws off the timing, and as fast as Cooper Kupp is, he's going to be shooting up that field. That's not to say that he can't anticipate.
Yeah.
That he can't anticipate the safety coming through, but as soon as his timing is thrown off, that's going to put pressure on him to think quicker.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yep.
Definitely.
And we didn't even mention Josh Allen.
No.
We didn't even mention Josh Allen.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we don't even have to.
No, we don't.
Yeah. So their week 2 game is against Atlanta. That's
a win.
That's going to be an easy win.
It's a blowout.
The third game is going to be at Arizona. Yeah, at the Cardinals.
No, I'm a Cardinals fan. They've owned Arizona. It might be tight for like 2 quarters, but they'll pull out. The Rams will eventually pull out. They do it every time.
Yeah. Number 4 at San Francisco.
That's going to be a key.
That's going to be an interesting.
They've always played rough against each other. Those 2 teams.
Yeah.
NFC Championship last year, game down to 3 points.
Exactly. It was that close, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo at the head of the table. With San Francisco, it's not, but it might not be him. Well, my point is that last year, Jimmy Garoppolo is not the best quarterback.
No.
He's not a very good quarterback for that team, especially. Yes, he took him to a Super Bowl, but he choked it out.
Yeah.
Right. And there are a number of factors that played into that, but Jimmy Garoppolo definitely did not help them in trying to win that game.
Yeah.
So San Francisco next year, we'll see how Trey Lance does against them if he is the starting quarterback.
That'll be a tough game for sure.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys in Week 5.
It might be a little tougher than what people think, but it's still going to be a Rams win.
It will.
They're going to get the Cowboys' best, which won't be that much.
No,
but it's still their
it's
best.
Not a high bar.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you could still. Yeah, I mean, you could still limbo under that bar, but that's about it. I mean,
is it at Dallas?
No.
Okay.
No, it's
if it was at Dallas, I'm like, maybe they can steal the game from them.
No, not at all. This next one is against Carolina.
That's a win.
That is a win as well. They have a bye week, and then right after that, they go to they're against San Francisco again. Now they aren't at San Francisco since they would be before. Yeah, it would be at home.
Still a tough game. Rivalry games on the division, Jose. You know this.
Yep. Week 9, the divisional round rematch at Tampa Bay. At Tampa Bay. So literally a divisional round rematch in Week 9. Both teams will be developed by then.
And we're going to get a good gauge of how each team is at that point of the season.
Exactly. So if all goes well with Tampa Bay, nobody gets injured.
All goes well with the Rams. Nobody gets injured either.
It's going to be very interesting.
Best on best right there.
It's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The next is against Arizona in LA at SoFi.
I don't have to do anything. Just show the shortest interception in NFL, pick 6 in NFL history, by one of the shortest men to play in NFL history. So moving on.
The shortest man. Oh my goodness, we're gonna keep saying that until we're blue. Week 11 and one of the top defenses in the league against New Orleans.
That's going to be key, specifically how their offense is.
Yes.
Because if New Orleans is a little better than what we're expecting, it might be a key game. And Tampa might have some trouble. Granted, they don't have Sean McVay, but I'm not Sean McVay. Sean Payton. I need to slap myself.
Sean Payton. No.
Sean Payton.
Yeah,
they don't have Sean Payton.
Yeah.
It's still going to be interesting to see how the team's doing, and I don't know. We'll see. I see a Rams win though with that one.
Yeah, but it'll be tight.
It'll be tight, and we'll see how the game's played. Games are always tighter than what they appear.
For sure. The next one is at Kansas City.
That one, that one's going to be interesting to see. No Tyreek though, so
they'll have a better chance. It seems like,
yeah,
and that's if Patrick Mahomes does not adjust to the short game, as we've suggested beforehand. So if he does adjust pretty well to the short game, which is what's going to be Patrick Mahomes' biggest test this next year, his rocket arm is not going to save him this next year.
No, it's not.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not. And Kelsey's just going to get double teamed every time, off the line. So we'll see.
Seattle, we can throw that one away.
Yeah.
Week 14, Las Vegas.
That'll be a tough game.
That will be.
Is it at Las Vegas?
No, it's in SoFi.
Still, California Raiders fans.
Oh yeah.
So
that'll be wild.
It'll see. Raiders are up and down. We won't know until we see how they're doing.
It's going to be late in the season, so we'll have a pretty good gauge of what they're like then.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and we'll revisit it.
Yeah,
for sure.
No.
Yeah. 15 is against Green Bay in Wisconsin. Yeah, so that'll be
interesting.
That will be an interesting one. Well, this next one is probably going to be pretty fun, especially with the way this team is being stacked up. Week 16 versus Denver, but it's going to be in SoFi though.
Yeah. So I don't know. First year with the team, Denver might surprise us and pull out of nowhere.
It might.
But
They might.
They'll still be a good team at the very least.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is a smart ball player.
Yeah.
Yes, he has a big arm, but he's also his IQ is very high.
Yeah.
Right. So their offense is definitely going to be challenged. You're going to love this one. LA versus LA at the Chargers.
I'm giving that one to the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers is going to be wicked, man.
Yeah.
That is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
For sure. Week 18 at Seattle.
Bye week for the playoffs.
Yep, pretty much.
Rest their starters.
Yeah, so now that we went through the schedule, they're obviously going to have a winning record, right?
Yeah.
That's not the question. The question is, how are they going to perform in the postseason?
Yep.
That is the big question.
And they have tough games coming up this rest of the year. Granted, they did play Tampa last year, but this is going to be in the middle of the season. This is different. They did it a couple years before in the middle of the season, and they beat Tampa, but it was by 7 points.
Yes.
So they're going to face good teams, specifically Denver and the Chargers towards the end.
Yes. Yeah.
And if their record is close, that could affect seeding, Jose. It could affect whether you're just a wild card team or you can get home field advantage.
It's one game.
Yes.
One game.
One game to lose. That is if the other teams take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
you don't know, but the answer to your question, Jose, that they'll be different. I'm not going to say they're going to be bad. They'll be different compared to last season in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be the hunted ones, and they're going to have to face everybody's best every single week, even the scrubs. And
it shouldn't be that way, but it is.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard to repeat in this league, and that's what makes it so great to see when it happens. That's the definition of one of the dynasties, is when that happens.
Man, I must say I am very excited about. I am more excited to see the AFC, but
honestly,
it is going to be very exciting just to see these two teams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams, go head to head the entire regular season. Yeah, because they're the ones that are going to be in contention, or seemingly in contention. Granted, there may be an NFC team that comes out of the woodwork.
It always happens every year. There's a surprise team that
Right.
comes out of nowhere. Yeah.
Right, but the ones that aren't going to surprise us are these two.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to have a winning record, right? It seems to be.
They're going to make the playoffs. That's no question.
They will.
It just depends on how they're seeded and how it's going to affect it. Because I would love it. I don't care who it is. If Tampa gets home field or the Rams get home field, I want them at separate sides of the bracket, so we can get them before. So that'd be my dream right there. I'd be like, that'd be the game of the playoffs before the Super Bowl. It's good.
Man, I'm just the more we talk about football every single week, the more I just want it to happen already.
I know.
You know what I mean?
We gotta wait.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
These past few weeks we've really been trying to just pull together some topics to mention.
Yeah.
Right. So these next few weeks we're definitely going to be doing the very same thing. So I'm excited to see what happens when the regular season starts. Every single week, I'm just more and more excited.
Yeah.
So.
No, and we're definitely going to try to, we're going to have some dog days, but we're going to try to take advantage and talk about some teams that normally wouldn't get talked about to give them some coverage here. And then, but when the season starts, dude, we're going to have to cut it separately, because we could go on for an hour about a specific game.
Yeah.
But we have 6 more to talk about and be like, okay, we gotta calm down. We gotta talk about these other teams.
For sure.
Too.
For sure.
No, it's oh man, it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be super, super exciting to see what happens. But tying this all back into the Rams, they're gonna have their chance, like every Super Bowl champion has before us, to prove if they're gonna be a dynasty or if they're gonna just have won that once, which is not no poo-pooing by any means.
Not at all. No.
But it shows to show it's going to be legacy defining. And I want to tie back into when we talked about what we wanted to say earlier today. It's going to be legacy defining with these two teams, Jose, because Rams win back-to-back. Sean McVay's legacy is solidified as a head coach.
Yeah.
He got rid of the problem at quarterback, and he won back-to-back Super Bowl rings with his team his way.
Right.
Aaron Donald's already a Hall of Famer. It's adding jewelry. It's adding frosting on the cake to him. Because he's already going to be a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion. Could have been Super Bowl MVP, but not disappointed that they gave it to Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
And Matthew Stafford. Think about the story.
The Cinderella story.
Yeah. It's already amazing. From the desolate despair of the Detroit Lions to a Super Bowl champion with the LA Rams. If he goes back to back, my God, dude, his all-time status skyrockets.
Yes.
It skyrockets because you can't say many quarterbacks that have done that. It's a short list.
Right.
Very short. So Rams legacy going back to back changes everything. Everything. And they're like, team of 2010s like, oh yeah, it could have been the Chiefs. Like, but the Rams won 2 Super Bowls. And they beat
We're always going to be referencing back to that.
And they beat Tampa.
Yep.
We're always going to go back to, like, they went back to back. They were clearly that dynasty of the 2020s. Like, that shows clearly what the team is. And it puts more pressure on those Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes as far as, like, hey, this team went back to back their first 2 years with that quarterback. And what's going on? Like, what's going on, guys? Like,
right.
we make it to the AFC Championship, but we've only won one. It's going to grow impatience on that side. That's the point of being back to back. It changes who you are as a team. The Patriots, the Cowboys, the Niners, the Steelers. Those are the teams that we talk about because they do the absolute hardest thing to do. It happens more regularly in the NBA. That's why they're like, whatever. Like, you went back to back. It's not as celebrated as it is in football. That's the Rams side of legacy for me. Tampa, oh boy. If they pull it off and they win the Super Bowl, 2 out of 3 years, Tom Brady has a second dynasty in it with a second team. 2 out of 3 years.
In a different conference.
And winning his second Super Bowl away from Belichick. That just adds more fuel to the fire of the narrative. Like, hey, a lot of people thought it was, Tom Brady's a system player in Belichick's system. That was destroyed by the Super Bowl, and it's going to be overkill if he wins this year. And if he rides off into the sunset, like I wish he did when he won his first year with Tampa, but he wanted to play more, legacy becomes godly. 8 Super Bowls, dude. Number 8. Like that, he's shaking his head at me right now to you guys who are listening to another podcast. It's just because it's unfathomable. If you go on a video game and you don't cheat and you try to do that, it's impossible unless you have it on rookie mode or something. Like, you know? Yeah. So legacy defining for Tom Brady, he's already undisputed. It just adds more. Hey. You think Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, like people who think somebody else is the GOAT, it adds more like to Tom Brady's argument. Like, be like 8-2 with another team in 3 years when the man was 43 years old. Like, that legacy, it changes. It doesn't change everything, but it makes his legacy that much more stronger and iconic. And then the people debating between him and Jordan, like people won't take Jordan because he's undefeated, but it adds more to the debate, and it doesn't question Tom Brady being the greatest football player ever. 8 Super Bowls. Tampa would look like geniuses if they win again because nobody wanted Tom, dude. They were one of the few teams that wanted Tom to play with him, and it's just like they were the smart enough team to take this old quarterback who was washed and win 2 Super Bowls added to them. They'll be one of the few franchises that has 3 rings. 3 rings. Not many franchises can say that they have that. So, legacy defining, and for Todd Bowles, one of the black coaches to win a Super Bowl. Like, there's nothing more beautiful than that. Working his ass off and leading a team to win the promised goal. That changes a lot, and that makes it incredible. And it just gets me more and more excited, dude, just to see the possibility of either one of those happenings. And you can't get mad with either one of those happening. People will get mad at Brady for like winning again, but you can't deny how incredible that is, you know?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Legacies will definitely be improving, and it'll change a lot because years from now, details get lost. All people that remember is who won and who was playing. Rams go back to back, like, hey, they went back to back. Who cares if they bought all their players? And most of them weren't drafted.
They did.
Tampa wins 2 out of 3 rings. Hey, look, Tom had his own dynasty in Tampa. We forget, like he went to a team that already had surrendered talent. Like, no, they won Super Bowls with him. You know, so like that's the thing about this topic and all that goes about it is legacies defined by these two contenders. Now, I could be wrong and be laughed at, and neither one of these teams does it, which, so be it. It happens. I'm all for like new blood.
That's a lightning strike.
Yeah, I'm all for new blood going in the NFL. But if I'm right about either one of these, I'm like, dude, I already said what I had to say in June, and now like it's close to happening like in late January and February. We'll see if it happens.
Man, all that is was very well said, and I think it's pretty poetic to just end the episode there. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching or listening, rather.
Yeah.
So if you like what you hear, same thing every week. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow our Instagram at RJTalks_11. All right. Thank you guys so much. We will see you next week.
See you next week.